Today's target will be converting from standard to slope-intercept form. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to convert an equation in standard form to slope-intercept form using the do-undo chart from Unit 4 and using algebraic methods. Remember that standard form looks like this, where x and y are on the same side of the equation, and slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Slope-intercept form is much easier to graph from, so we want to be able to convert from standard to slope-intercept so that we can graph an equation. This is particularly going to be helpful when you have a standard form equation where the x or y intercept or both are not nice numbers. So the first method we're going to use is the do-undo chart. So basically what we do is we want to take this equation and we want to solve it for y. So to do that, we're going to set up our do-undo chart and say what's being done to y. First thing that's being done to y is it's being multiplied by -2. And then we've got the 6x. It's positive 6x, which means we're adding. So the opposites of multiplication would be division, so dividing by -2. The opposite of addition would be subtraction, so subtracting 6. And then we're going to work our way up, starting with the 10. If you're still having trouble with the do-undo chart, take a moment to go back and watch the video from Unit 4. Hopefully it'll clarify some things. So as we write this, we're going to start with 10. We're going to subtract 6x, and then we're going to divide by -2, and that's equal to y. Now, that's not quite what we want, because we're not in slope-intercept form yet. We're getting closer. We're not quite there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to write y equals, and then I'm going to split that fraction up, and I'm going to have 10 divided by -2, and then 6 divided by -2. Actually, let's write that as a -6 over -2. So we'll keep the negative with the 6. So now I'm going to simplify. 10 over -2 becomes -5. -6 over -2, we have a negative divided by negative, so it is a positive. That's going to be a positive 3. So we have -5 plus 3x. In slope-intercept form, the order is simply switched, so I'm going to move it around, keeping the signs where they are, and we get y equals 3x minus 5. So those are our steps. We start with the do-undo chart, and then we had to do a little bit of alteration to get to our y equals form. So if you're confident with the do-undo chart, you like the way that works, you find that easy to set up, this might be a good method for you to use to convert from standard to slope-intercept. The second way we're going to do it is using more of an algebraic technique. So we're not going to use our do-undo chart. We're going to look at how do we get y by itself. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the x term. How do we get rid of a positive 6x? We introduce a negative 6x. So positive 6x, negative 6x are going to cancel out. Leaves us with negative 2y. On the right side, I have a 10 and I have a negative 6x. The common mistake would be to combine those two to get 4x. But since they are not like terms, I cannot combine them. So I simply have a negative 6x and I have a positive 10. I'm going to put the x first because I know I'm trying to get to slope-intercept form, which is in the form mx plus b. So I'm going to put the x first to kind of get closer to where I want to be. Now to get y by itself, I need to divide by -2. And the key here is to divide everything by -2. So on the left side, the -2 divided by -2 cancels out and leaves us with y. On the right side, -6 divided by -2 is 3. And 10 divided by -2 is -5. So you can see we get the same answer that way as well. So this way it looks a little bit shorter, but there are a few places where students tend to make mistakes. So if you're using this method, please make sure here that you don't combine like terms. Okay, make sure when you rewrite it, you have the two terms. And then when you divide everything by -2, make sure you actually divide everything by -2. The mistake that students make here is they often forget this one here at the end, and so they get the wrong y-intercept. Now it's your turn. I want you to take this form, this equation, 3x plus 5y equals 20, and I want you to convert it into slope-intercept form using the method of your choice. So pause the video now. So you should have gotten y equals negative 3 divided by 5 times x plus 4. Either way you do it, you should get the same answer. You get the do-undo chart there on the left. On the right, you've got it solved using algebraic method. So whatever method you chose, kind of follow along with what I did. Make sure that your steps match mine. If you didn't get the right answer, try to figure out what step you made a mistake on. If you have questions, go back and rewatch parts of the video, or you can always write down your questions to get them answered next time I see you in class.